everybody. Say hello to Dudley. He is the latest addition to the Drive Home Reviews family. I'm not entirely sure what he is. He is a bear with 3D glasses, a Care Bear things, but with one of the Pac-Man ghosts on his tummy. So, you know, kind of fits all things, I guess. We're gonna have to see how he fits into the seating chart here. He's a little gangly. I don't think Zoe's gonna like him riding on her. So yeah, Dudley. All right. So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. First of all, I gotta say, I want a damn royalty check from Sony Pictures for this, because way back in my Spider-Man Homecoming review, this is pretty much what I said I wanted them to do, only with the live action Marvel, MCU Spider-Man movies. I wanted them to do a culmination that led to the Spider-Verse, so we could get live action movies of Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales. I mean, how big of a Spider-Gwen fan am I? I literally just picked this up today. All right, this is like issue 6. Or not issue 6, but collection 6. So I love Spider-Gwen. All right, she's like my current favorite modern-day superhero. I really love her, and I love what they've done with her. Anyway, that's in the books. Let's talk about the movie. So this movie's getting a lot of press, and a lot of people just saying, oh, it's the greatest animated movie of the year, it's this, that, and the other thing, it's just so fabulous and all that. I don't necessarily think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Good movie, yeah, and a good Spider-Man movie. Sony and Spider-Man are such a weird thing, because if it wasn't for Sony, we wouldn't have the two definitive Spider-Man films, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. They did that. I mean, they set what was going to become the superhero revolution in motion, really. And like everything since then has just been a steady decline downhill. Spider-Man 3 was not the greatest thing ever. I'm one of the few that doesn't hate Spider-Man 3. I just don't necessarily like it that much. But I don't hate it. I don't think it's a terrible film. It's just not as good as the other two. Those Amazing Spider-Man films were shit. Venom was somehow worse than that. And now we have this movie, which is actually pretty damn entertaining and does a lot of really good stuff. So if you're not familiar with this, if you're not a comic book fan, seeing trailers for this might confuse you a bit. So, brief history. In the early 2000s, there was a line of comics called the Ultimate line. There was Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men. Actually, they began in the late 90s and carried over into the 2000s. And they're basically supposed to get new readers into the characters by kind of starting over. They still had the regular books going, but they started over and they added the Avengers and all this, that, and the other thing. It was mixed. It was okay. It wasn't great. But sometime, again, in the early 2000s, they decided they were going to kill off the Ultimate version of Peter Parker and come up with a new Spider-Man named Miles Morales, who is a biracial character, a half black, half Latino character. And this character took off, and he is like one of the most popular characters in Marvel Comics currently. So popular was he that recently, like within the last 5-10 years, I can't remember exactly when they did it, Marvel did this whole crossover event, basically their version of, Crisis on Infinite Earths, so that they could bring Miles Morales into the mainstream Marvel universe. That was pretty much the only reason they did it, is so that he could now be in the Marvel universe. So now the Marvel universe has two Spider-Men. It has Peter Parker and Miles. For years, people have been wanting to see a Miles Morales Spider-Man film. That's been a thing that they've really wanted. It was even said that, the MCU, when they got the rights to Spider-Man back, should have skipped doing another Peter Parker film and cut right to Miles Morales. And I see the logic in that. I really do. They're obviously going to get to him at some point. They've hinted at him enough. But I'll be honest, I was not in favor of that. Now, I've never actually read any of the Miles Morales comics. I'm an old school Peter Parker guy. I like Peter Parker as Spider-Man. Not that I have any objection to Miles Morales, it's just I like Peter Parker. It's kind of like, but I get that he's a really good character, and if I don't know how closely this film follows his origins and whatnot in the comics, but if it is, I think he is a really good character. But I don't think they should have jumped right to him. I think they should have done exactly what they did here. This is a great way to introduce Miles to the larger Marvel audience who maybe is not a fan of the comics or isn't as familiar with the comics. So now you've introduced Miles, and now I think later you can do it. So anyway, Miles Morales is our central Spider-Man here. This is kind of the story of how he becomes Spider-Man in his universe. And yes, this is kind of one of those things where he is, just like in the comics, he's from another universe than any of the Spider-Men we've known. The Spider-Man, the Peter Parker of that universe dies, and Miles kind of has to take up the mantle and kind of has to learn as he goes, and he's helped along by an older Spider-Man played by Jake Johnson of New Girl fame. As an older Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, again, awesome. If you haven't read Spider-Gwen and you're a comic book fan, you need to read Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen is awesome. Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker, who's like a Japanese spider person. I don't know how they, she's not Spider-Girl or Spider-Woman, and Spider-Ham, one of the cartoon characters. So it's this motley collection of spider people from all these different universes, trying to get back and trying to teach Miles how to be a hero and all that stuff. So let's talk about the good, because there's a lot of good. First of all, one of the great things about an animated superhero movie is you no longer have to worry about the costumes looking silly or the powers looking weird in CGI or whatever. Because it's an animated film, the action is just so much smoother. The everything about it just looks, and they do a great job of making it look and feel like you're reading a live action comic. One of the things I really enjoy about this, in terms of the look of it, is it's interesting how each of the characters kind of has a different look. Like Miles, Spider-Gwen, and the older Peter Parker all look like, kind of like they belong in the same universe. Spider-Noir, if you look at him, he's got kind of the dots like they did in the older comics from like the 30s and what, not even the 30s, but he looks like a character jumping right out of one of the older comics. Spider-Ham is animated like a Looney Tunes character. Penny Parker looks like she just jumped out of an anime. So you've got all these different art styles kind of coming together, for the different universes. And I think that's a really cool thing. It was really neat to look at. I also gotta say the voice cast is really, really good in this. Jake Johnson is really fun as the older Peter Parker. I don't know, I couldn't catch the young man's name who's playing Miles, but he really captured a young man and someone who's growing up and all that. I don't know, there's a lot of life in his voice. Again, couldn't catch the lady who did the voice for Spider-Gwen, but she was awesome. That's exactly how I always pictured Spider-Gwen to sound like. And I like I really do like that with the focus on Miles, it's a fresh take on the Spider-Man mythos. I think Spider-Man has the problem now where, what is it, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think, live action movies of his own, guest starring in 2 others, 7th live action about to come out. Spider-Man as Peter Parker is a bit overexposed. You know, he's kind of like Batman now. When you do a new Batman movie, it's just this kind of roll of the eyes of, oh, geez, do we have to go through the murder of, Thomas and Martha Wayne again? Do we have to go through all of this again? And with, Peter Parker, it's kind of the same thing. I think that's one thing Spider-Man Homecoming did really smart, to just jump past the origin, and just said, okay, Uncle Ben's already dead. All of this has already happened. Let's just get to the... let's just get to the meat of the story. And I think with taking it from Miles' point of view, it's a very fresh take. Like, again, I'm not familiar with his character or origins or anything like that, outside of a few things. And I really liked the story. I thought it was a great new coming-of-age story. It was very much a Spider-Man story, but a new Spider-Man story. And I, again, dug it. Dug the story a lot, and just the growth of it. I really thought it was fantastic. So there's a lot of good here, but I gotta talk about some of the negatives, at least for me, because they're kind of bugging me a little bit. So first of all, let's go back to the art style that I talked about. I really did like the art style of it, but it was inconsistent. Like I say, Miles and his dad, his family, Peter Parker, Spider-Gwen, they all looked and moved almost like real people. I would swear it was almost motion capture technology working with them. But then you have the Kingpin, who is the main villain, and he's built like this fucking, like a giant, rectangle with a head, not on his shoulders, but down here in like his chest, so the shoulders are like up here. It's this weird thing, and he's not supposed to be from another universe. He's supposed to be from the same universe as Miles is. So why does Miles and them look like, almost exactly like real people, but Kingpin, who isn't a supervillain in the fact that he's got superpowers, he's just supposed to be a big dude, why does he look so fucking weird? And it was really distracting. Another thing, oh my god, I had such a problem with this. In terms of the visual style. So much shit was out of focus. And I don't know if it's a thing like they were trying to do it for the 3D, but it seems like if I'm in the foreground, if I'm here, then that means, Dudley would be out of focus. Or the background, like everything around me would be slightly out of focus. Like you're supposed to be viewing it through, literally like through the 3D glasses he's got on. So much of it, so much of the side things, the background, were out of focus. And I'm sorry, that's bugging the hell out of me because it's making my eyes hurt. And I realize it's a stylistic thing. For some reason they did it. It was a stylistic choice. But it was really fucking making my eyes hurt. It was like, oh my god. Here's the other thing. Here's the thing I got, and this is a personal thing that bugs me about this, just in the way the film is going. If I could do it, if I could go back and do it, I would have done just Miles and the older Spider-Man, because you've got these other really interesting characters. Again, Spider-Gwen is a really fun character. Really awesome character. She needs a movie all on her own. Either live action, animated, I don't give a shit. She needs a movie all on her own. Spider-Noir has kind of an interesting thing going on. Penny Parker has an interesting... But they get no real backstory. This movie is one of the things I said in my Homecoming review, is that, again, this should be the combination. And then an offshoot. Because I really didn't feel... Sorry there, Mr. Chirpy. Why are you falling over? I don't know. It just didn't feel like a lot of the characters got any kind of development. You know, they were just there. They were kind of one joke or two joke things, and then, you know, gone. And therefore, you couldn't. There's not a lot of emotional connection. They had this whole thing. Penny Parker, the Japanese girl, has a psychic connection with the spider that bit her, that lives inside a giant robot that her dad built, apparently. And in the final battle, like, the robot gets destroyed, and she's all really sad about it. And you can tell just by the way it's animated and all this that we the audience, are supposed to have this emotional connection. But we don't know who Penny Parker is. She jumps in, is kind of a one joke thing, and then you're like, okay, you know. And then there's right after that, there's a thing where Spider-Noir offers her his hand, you know, to kind of, you know, help her and to be nurturing about it. But again, that doesn't really serve as character payoff. They tell us, who tells us, ooh, I'm brooding and dark, and it's supposed to basically be the Batman of Spider-Man, you know, and this whole thing of him taking her hand and showing her love is supposed to be like a character growth thing for him. But again, we don't get to know these characters. You know, we don't get to know them. And I think, I don't know, maybe just keeping it to Miles, older Peter Parker, and Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen got a little bit more development. But again, her backstory and a lot of her, you know, trials and tribulations don't really get explored. And that's understandable. Again, it's Miles' movie. You know, she gets more. But again, these other characters, you know, they're all treated like Spider-Ham, who is kind of a one-joke thing. And I don't know, I wanted more out of them. You know, I don't know. I was hoping there was going to be more with the two of them, and, you know, a little bit more of this group dynamic thing. But that didn't work so much because it was a Miles origin story basically, and I mean it worked as a Miles origin story, but I don't know. I almost wish you could have done a Miles origin story and then done this one as a sequel. You know, to now that his origin's out of the way, we can have more time to just be with all the spider people and have all the fun of the spider people all interacting and the different personalities and the different takes on Peter Parker, you know, going all over the place. I mean, that's kind of my thing. But that's a personal thing. Now, does that take away from the enjoyment of the movie as a whole? No, not at all. Not at all. It's a fun movie. It's a good Spider-Man movie. It's a fresh take on the material. Fresh new characters that, again, I want to see more of. I like this Miles. And I do want to see him more now. Again, love Spider-Gwen. Want to see more of her. You know, so I think it's a good way to kind of introduce people and keep Spider-Man fresh, because I think he's been dealing with a little bit of, you know, being a bit stale lately. I mean, let's be honest. I also got to say this, and I know it's going to happen again. I know it's going to be in Avengers Endgame. I know that's coming. Boy, howdy, did the Stan Lee cameo almost make me cry. I'm sorry. Maybe because for some reason, I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting the Stan Lee cameo. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it. I should have expected it, but I didn't. And when it happened, oh my God. And it happens at just one of the most emotionally kind of tense moments of the film, and then he comes and you're just like, oh. And it's one of those things where you realize, and again, you know he's going to have one in, he's probably going to have one in Endgame, and I don't know, I would assume he might have one in Captain Marvel. But it's kind of that thing of going, oh my God, we're not going to see Stan Lee anymore. He's not going to be popping up in all these movies after a certain point. You know, Endgame is probably going to be his last one. And when seeing him there, that just kind of hit me for the first time. I'm just kind of going, oh wow. So yeah, a good movie, but I gotta tell you, for me, I needed a box of tissues in a spot I didn't, for a movie I didn't think I was gonna need a box of tissues for Mr. Chirpy. Oh no! He fell over again. Oh shit, I'm sorry, buddy. Oh, we're coming up on a stoplight. Don't worry, I've been doing all this stuff with like holding up the book and stuff at stoplights and whatnot, so I haven't been like driving and holding a book up, so don't worry about that. So, let's wrap this one up. So final grade for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm gonna go a B+. I'm gonna go a B+. A good story. I really liked it. But again, for me, the main thing keeping it back was just a little bit of lack of character development for two of the other characters. And I'm sorry, the out-of-focus animation, a stylized choice, but it was killing my head. I'm surprised I don't have a migraine right now. But damn if it wasn't a lot of fun and a really great Spider-Man movie. So this may be the last one of these for the year. There's a possibility I might do one tomorrow. I have to see how my house, my parents are coming into town, so I gotta get the house clean. I'm supposed to hang out with a friend tomorrow night, but they're sick, so I don't know if that's gonna happen. I doubt it. So I might have one more in me, but we'll see. But if not, I think this was a good one to go out on. It was a pretty shitty year at the movies. You'll hear more about that in the top 10 list at the end of the year. And it's nice if this is the last one. It's nice to kind of go out on an up note and kind of that is kind of an uplifting. Yeah, let's go get them, hooray! Awesome kind of movie. So I appreciate that. If I come back before my folks get here, I'll see you all soon. If not, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, have a wonderful, happy, healthy holiday season, and thanks everybody for watching during the year. Thanks to the people who have watched these videos. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we might get some new viewers. Maybe the cute girl who works at the concession stand who noticed my sweatshirt for the first time, so maybe she's gonna check out the videos. Be nice, I'm just saying. Anyway, I hope not. She'll kind of see what an asshole I am. Of course, all the girls I date end up finding that out sooner or later. That's why I'm still single. Anyway, that got off on a melancholy note. I'm trying to be happy. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever. And until next year or next time, as always, drive safe, and I'm going to see you at the movies. Thank you.